What's up, Internet? This is Rambling Josh, and you're watching another episode of Let's Play Pokemon Card. So, since last time, I faced Imakuni here in the Science Club. Obviously, he's not here anymore because I beat him already. And honestly, I wish I actually had recorded it, because it's a perfect example, far better than the last episode, of why we faced Imakuni rather than someone else. The duel basically went like this. I went first, I had a Squirtle on my bench, I attacked him with Bubble, that did 10 damage to his Drowsy. His Drowsy was his only Pokemon, he used Imakuni, confused his Drowsy, tried to use Pound, failed the confusion check, did 40 damage to himself, died, and lost the match. It was about a 30-second match. I didn't really get anything good card-wise from him, but yeah, that's basically why we fight Imakuni, because he does stuff like that. So anyways, we want to do something a little bit crazy for this match. Actually, full on Squirtles already. I say full because you can only have 4 of the same card in a deck, except for energies. You can have as many of those as you want, but for example, well, let's just go Squirtles. I can put 4, but I can't go up to 5. So that's just the way that works. So anyways, we're doing something a little crazy this episode, because another way that is good to... I don't need energy retrieval. Energy removal's good, don't need switch. What's Pokemon Center do? Yeah, sure. What's Pokemon do? I honestly can't remember some of these. Don't need that. Don't need Scoop Up. Sure. I guess I probably shouldn't have put this deck together on screen if this is what it's gonna look like. Anyways, this deck is basically completely different from every other deck I'm ever going to make. Because one of the other ways that we can easily defeat people or get some cards early on. Let's see here. Do I not have any Farfetch'd? No, okay. That's good. Is we can kind of abuse the system a little bit. If we go to the Rock Club... Now, the observant among you will have noticed what I did here. Basically, I only have 1 Pokemon in my deck, and that's a Scyther. So this kind of basically abuses the way that the game works. I'll explain a little bit more in a moment here, but we're going to challenge the leader of the Rock Gym, Jean. And what's going to happen is... Oh. I just got the Scyther straight off. Normally what happens is if you don't have a Pokemon in your starting hand, you shuffle your hand back into your deck, and then you draw again until you do get a basic Pokemon. And usually what happens then is that the opponent will draw 2 cards, so they get an advantage out of you not getting any basic Pokemon. Now, I believe that in whatever rules, like tournament rules or whatever, there's a requirement that you have at least 10 basic Pokemon in your deck, because otherwise, then you can do what I've done here and basically guarantee that the Pokemon that you get, no matter how many times you have to end up shuffling your and redrawing, the Pokemon that you get end up being, you know, good Pokemon. You can guarantee it. So this is the Pokedex trainer, which allows me to look at the top 5 cards in my deck and rearrange them whichever way that I want. And that's just fine by me. So, as you can probably imagine, considering I'm using nothing but Scyther, this deck is entirely based around him. I'm confident enough in his abilities that he can basically defeat the entire opponent's team all on his own. And this is probably very true, because Jean uses Rock-type Pokemon. Exclusively Rock-type Pokemon. This might be the Rock Gym, but his compatriots often mix in other types, whereas Jean uses exclusively Rock. And basically, Scyther is like the expert at taking on Rock-type Pokemon. Let's take a look at him real quick. So he's a resistance to fighting types, meaning that all incoming damage of fighting type damage is reduced by, I think it's 20, it might be 30, I can't honestly remember. Scyther in himself is decent. He's a pretty good basic Pokemon in that he's got 70 HP and can deal 30 damage, so he's pretty resilient and can deal some damage out. But also, Rock-type Pokemon, if we look at their weakness, is Grass. So Scyther has a huge advantage here in that he has both resistance and weaknesses on his side. So he's more or less invincible against Gene because of the whole resistance thing. And his damage is doubled to 60 for every hit, when you do actually get enough energy to use him. I think there are things Gene can do to damage Scyther, but the fact of the matter is that I can't honestly think of any time that I've ever lost to him using a Scyther. Let's look at, he evolved to Graveler. Yeah, Graveler can use Rock Throw if he gets enough energy, and that'll do 10 damage, I think. But he would also die in a single slash, I guess it's called. And this right here, what he's doing is basically his best chance at winning. Using Rhyhorns, which is one of his most common cards, he will spam Leer, which, as I explained in a previous episode, basically just, if it's successful, if he flips a heads, then your Pokemon is prevented from attacking that turn. So he can delay the inevitable for a while by spamming that, as he is continuing to do. But he's not really capable of doing a whole lot. So at this point, we're basically just playing the waiting game. He can stall as long as he wants, but eventually he's going to die, because Scyther kills him. Now, I drew a Bill there, as I explained in a previous episode, because I used one against Imakuni. Bill lets you draw 2 cards from the top of your deck, which is pretty handy. It lets you kind of get more cards in your hands, increases your chances of having something that you can use. But in this case, where I don't really need anything, it's just time. I'm gonna kill him eventually, but it's just a matter of when is his Leer going to stop working, because I think he's only gotten 2 tails so far out of, like, I think that's 7? Which is just ridiculous, by the way. Like, this game is really... The luck that this game is having, or the lack of luck that I'm having so far, is just ridiculous. That's 3 in a row? And there's just nothing I can do about it. Well, I guess if I had another Pokemon on my bench, I could retreat Scyther and attack with that one, but... Which is one of Scyther's strengths. If we look, he has no retreat cost. But that's, you know, whatever. But anyways, the reason I didn't use Bill is because I'm basically just, not stalling, but because time is the only limiting factor here. Ooh, we put a defender on Graveler. Bill would basically just possibly hasten my own demise. If I run out of time and end up drawing all the cards in my deck, then I lose. So drawing more cards isn't something I need to do, and it's just going to possibly have an off chance of making me lose. Of course, Gene has less cards than me right now, so that doesn't really make sense. Now anyways, last turn he used a defender on his Graveler. And what that does is it takes any incoming damage and reduces it by 20. So Scyther's Slash would normally do 60 because it's 30 times 2 for the weakness, and it took that 60 and reduced it by 20. So he's hit me twice with Rock Throw. I'm gonna heal him up with my potion. And now that there's no more Leers going on, we're oh god, another Rhyhorn. And another defender. Good lord. This is supposed to be an easy fight. None of these easy fights are turning out to be that easy, though. And Professor Oak is another card that I could use, but I really don't have any use for it. I've got, I mean, for one, I've got 20 cards in my hand, so I'd be discarding 20 cards just for a chance of getting 7 new ones, which in reality I just don't have anything that I need to use those cards for. I've got everything I need right now, so there's no need to cycle through my deck looking for new things. And he's just gonna keep stalling with this Rhyhorn, isn't he? That jerk. What's he have on his bench? I guess it doesn't really make much difference. I drew a Gust of Wind, which is a really useful trainer that lets you force your opponent's currently active Pokemon to the bench. And then I'm pretty sure you choose its replacement. So basically, say I could force him to switch his Rhyhorn for something else. Say a Diglett or something that I'm able to kill easily. Which is really handy. But the reason I'm not using it here is because he still has this Rhyhorn. And I, use that energy removal, take away his fighting energy. That might give him make it so that he's not using Leer next turn, maybe. Yeah. So anyways, I still need to kill 2 Pokemon, so even if I was able to kill 1 easily, he would have just switched back to his Rhyhorn and continued to use Leer anyways. Because when your Pokemon dies, you choose its replacement. So it wouldn't have helped me at all to kill something else first. What I will do now, though, is I use Gust of Wind, because Onix has 90 HP, which is more than I can deal in a single hit. So use Gust of Wind to switch for the Diglett, and kill the Diglett. It just lets me win the fight a little bit quicker, because the Diglett dies in a single hit. As opposed to taking 2 hits and chancing him doing something silly. So for that, we get the easiest Master Medal in the entire game, and Mystery Booster Packs. And that's the problem with this method, is Mystery, they're honestly not all that good. If he gave something like Colosseum or Evolution Booster Packs, it would make a lot more sense to farm this guy. But as it is, he doesn't give us anything extraordinarily useful. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure when you actually get mails from Dr. Mason. I try to check back pretty frequently whenever I beat a master or stuff like that. So anyways, that is how you cheap the heck out of Gene. I'm probably not gonna do that a whole lot until later. See, the thing is, just knowing what cards come from what booster packs. So usually the best are Evolution and Colosseum packs. Evolution gives the evolved forms of Pokemon, and I want Blastoises. I need 4 Blastoises, or as many as I can get. And I may actually never get 4 Blastoises, because they're fairly rare. But that's the goal. So Evolution is something I want to seek out. Now Mystery, I'm pretty sure Mystery booster packs can give Laprases, which I want some of, and I'm pretty sure they can also give Articuno, which is another one that I want. So at some point I might end up farming this guy a bunch to try and get some of those, but for now I'm not too worried about it. There's really nothing else that I want to do on this episode. So I am going to, well, fight Imakuni again off screen and catch you back on the next episode. But before I do that, there is one last thing I want to mention, and that is the fact that when you're fighting Imakuni, I think it's every 3rd or maybe 4th victory, rather than giving him giving you booster packs for beating him, he'll instead give you a Imakuni card, which is obviously not what I want at all. So if I do end up fighting him and he does give me an Imakuni card, I'm just going to fight him over again to get the booster packs that I'm looking for. So with that said, I will catch you on the next episode of Let's Play Pokemon Card.